In the shadow of Robert J. Oppenheimer lived a different kind of man. A man that wasn't afraid of his own creation. One that knew his design had done what it was meant to. Oppenheimer even initially had mixed feelings about the use of atomic weapons. After the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of 1945, he expressed immense regret and moral concerns about the devastating impact of the bombings. As a scientific director of the Manhattan Project, he understood the destructive power of the atomic bomb and the profound consequences it would have on humanity. After the war, Oppenheimer became an advocate for international control of nuclear weapons and spoke out against the development of the hydrogen bomb. Many would criticize him for being the man that opened the floodgates for splitting atoms above populated civilian centers. He also seemed to ignore the obvious strategic situation of the early 50s. The Soviet Union was going to go as far as they could into atomic science as a matter of state preservation, leading to America, most of the West, and later China developing massive stockpiles and ever-evolving nuclear strike weapons. Careful he was to never directly implicate himself as a murderer. As an aside, I don't think he was a murderer either. As it was famously portrayed in the movie Oppenheimer, Harry S. Truman pulled the trigger and reduced those cities to rubble, regardless of what moral issues any scientist grappled with in their mind. That's why I always saw it as kind of embarrassing, but maybe that's why I'm a farmer and not one of the most influential weapons designers in human history. By the end of that war, nuclear weapons would not be the preferred sword to wield by Truman. Strategic bombing was the flavor of the day, and the U.S. Army, Air Force, and Navy were the best in the world at it. The Japanese home islands, built mostly out of wooden structures, were noted to be extremely susceptible to incendiary bombs. The issue arose with the method of delivery. In the early stages of World War II, incendiary bombs were often filled with a combination of thermite, gasoline, and other flammable substances. These bombs were designed to start fires upon impact. A request was made for a team of chemists to make a new gel-like substance for the payload. The perfect candidate arose immediately from piles of paperwork. Louis Fieser. He was a distinguished organic chemist with a strong background in the field. His expertise in the properties and reactions of organic compounds made him well suited for the development of new chemical formulations, such as those needed for incendiary weapons. His previous work developing anti-malarial drugs for the military earlier in the war gave him credentials to be trusted with sensitive defense information and funds, especially for a man with a traditionally German last name. His lab would be based out of Harvard University, a campus with a long history of aiding military technology development. He'd lead a team of scientists, notably including his wife, who contributed greatly to the project. The basic idea behind napalm was to create a more viscous, gel-like incendiary substance that could adhere to surfaces and burn more effectively than traditional incendiary materials. The key components of napalm were gasoline mixed with a thickening agent. The thickening agent, often based on naphthalene or aluminum soap, gave napalm its gel-like consistency. The physical need for such a consistency is obvious. Sticky fire sticks to Asian children, hard fire falls off them. Another contributing factor to the substance development was flexibility. Napalm is extremely versatile in its delivery methods. Whether it's sending in infantrymen with tanks of the stuff strapped to their back to clear out fortifications on a front line, or neatly packing a thin steel container of it and virtually rolling it off your F-4 Phantom. The goo that can do it all, folks! On a more serious note, the weapon became extremely controversial during Vietnam. Controversial during Vietnam is a big-time oxymoron, but napalm was especially bad stuff. The jungles of Vietnam were the perfect use case for the weapon. Alas, being the first televised war, America sat at home and watched 350,000 tons of napalm get dropped on a country very few Americans had even heard of. In his later years, Fieser would garner some media attention being the inventor of the now infamous war crime goo. He publicly stated he was ashamed of his work on the napalm program because of its use in Southeast Asia many decades after its design. You might think that contradicts my point in the intro, but there's a distinction to be made there. Oppenheimer wrestled with the thought that he was personally responsible for hundreds of thousands dead. In that instead, millions more human beings, especially hundreds of thousands of his own countrymen, should die doing the dirty work of deposing dictatorships instead. Fieser had no regrets of his tool's destruction of Japan, and made no such statements.
We shoot the sick, the young, the lame. We do our best to kill and maim, because the kills all count the same. Napalm sticks the kid. Flying low across the trees, pilots doing what they please, dropping frags on refugees. Napalm sticks the kid. It made us feel so good inside when the strong men wept and the women cried. But what we really like is the children's pride. Napalm sticks to kids. See that family over there? Watch me get 'em with a pair. Blood and guts just everywhere. Napalm sticks to kids. CIA with guns for hire, mountain yards around a fire. Napalm makes that fire higher. Napalm sticks to kids. Children sucking on a mother's tit, gooks down in a 50 pit. Dow Chemical doesn't give a shit. Napalm sticks to kids. Attack some kids when you go downtown by throwing some candy on the ground, then grease them when they gather around. Napalm sticks to kids. A squad of Kong in the grass, but all the fighting's long since past. Crispy critters in a mass. Napalm sticks to kids. Loaches out to have a blast. Drop some peat on kids in mass. Send the remains to the chief of staff. Napalm sticks to kids. Ox carts rolling down the road. Peasants with a heavy load. They're all DC when the bombs explode. Napalm sticks to kids. Shooting women, lots of fun. Try killing one that's pregnant, son. You'll get two for the price of one. Napalm sticks to kids. Flying low and feeling mean. See that family by the stream. Drop some napalm and hear 'em scream. Napalm sticks to kids. See that goop down on his knees. Launch some flechettes in the breeze. Find his arms nailed to the trees. Napalm sticks to kids. NBA are all hardcore. Flechettes nailed to the jungle floor. Throw them psyops out the door. Napalm sticks to kids. 18 kids in a no-fire zone. Foots under arms and going home. Last in line goes home alone. Napalm sticks to kids. Chuck's in a sampan sitting in the stern, but he don't think his boat will burn. Them fucking gooks will never learn. Napalm sticks to kids. See the little kids jump and shout. Drop some napalm without a doubt. Watch them try and put it out. Napalm sticks to kids. I've been around some things I've seen. Only seen it happen twice, but both times it was mighty nice. Shooting peasants planting rice. Napalm sticks to kids. Napalm son is lots of fun. Drop from a bomb or shot from a gun. It gets the gooks when they're on the run. Napalm sticks to kids. Some people say it's not so neat to watch gooks burning in the street, but burned flesh smells mighty neat. Napalm sticks to kids. Gooks in the open making hay, but I can hear them gunships say, there'll be no true boys today. Napalm sticks to kids. Shoot civilians where they sit. Take some pictures as you split. All your life you'll remember it. Napalm sticks to kids. They's in good shape for the shape they's in, but there's no way that they can win with napalm rolling down their skin. Napalm sticks to kids.